Okay, so I'm going to show you some very basic things about Photoshop that you can use to create your AT130 design portfolio. First, an introduction to the screen itself. This is the Photoshop workspace. It looks a lot like a Word document. If you look up at the top, you have File. This is where you're going to open new documents, create new documents, or save your documents, even print. Edit is where you're going to undo a step that you created that you don't like, cut, copy, paste, and transform. In Image, this is where you're going to turn your project into grayscale if you haven't done so already. And you can also make adjustments to the value, contrast, and tone. You can also rotate your canvas. Layer is where we're going to be making changes to each individual layer. Select. This is going to address some of these selection tools over on the left. So you can add at the top. Over to View, you can show rulers, so you can see how things will fit according to the ruler set on your screen. You can also find the grid that I showed you during class by using your Command apostrophe button on your keyboard, and that will help you with alignment. Windows, as I showed you in class, if you create a new workspace for this class, your palettes will turn up every time you open Photoshop with this workspace. For our purposes, we want layers and navigator open. So here's your navigator palette. I'm going to open up a new document to show you what navigator does. Okay, here's your new document. Okay, so navigator is a tool to help you locate an area on the screen. It has a slide bar that lets you zoom in and zoom out. And as you notice, when I zoom in, you see a red rectangle over on the navigator palette, and that represents what you're seeing on the screen. So sometimes you might zoom in so close to something, but then you get lost and you can't really find out where you are. What you can do with your mouse is you can click on this little red rectangle and drag it back over to your image so that you can continue working up close. In Photoshop, it is best to work up close to something so you can get a very precise selection. So you can click on the right and left to zoom in or out, or you can also slide that bar. Okay, that's the navigator. Layers. The layers work like clear pieces of acetate paper that you might see in an anatomy book. If you create your design with each shape or body of text on a different layer, you can then make changes to those individual pieces of the design without altering anything else in the design. And I'll be showing you a layers lesson in a bit here. Over on the left is the tools that you will need to make selection. Photoshop works with selections. You'll have to use these tools. If you hold your cursor over them long enough, they will show you what they do. This is the Move tool, which allows you to move, move your selection. I just need to unlock my layer here. So the Move tool will allow you to slide anything around on the layer that you selected. The Marquee tool is a selection tool. Anything you want to change in Photoshop, you do need to select. The Rectangle Marquee tool selects a rectangular shape. Circular or Elliptical Marquee tool does a circular shape, and you also have a Single Row Marquee tool. So anything I select with inside this rectangle can be adjusted. So you can see I'm sort of cutting it out and moving it over. I can use the Command Z tool or Edit Undo Move to put it back if I don't like my selection. You also have a lasso tool. This is more of a freehand selection tool. The lasso tool, lets you draw and select components that are not a simple geometric shape. So it lets you select that more complicated shape freehand. The polygonal lasso tool, again, if you click there, you'll get to hold. This is a straight edge selection tool. Every time you click your mouse, you create a vertices. Okay. Magic wand, we'll talk about. The crop tool. So we'll be talking about how to make selections with these tools. Down here is the default setup, which means you have black in the foreground and white on the background. You can flip that around and have white on a black background. Or you can, as you just saw, click into that swatch and select any color or value that you want. We're using grayscale, so we're going to want to stick to this edge and stick to one of the values on this edge for your new selection. And you can see the new value here compared to the current one, and hit OK, and that will show up in the foreground color. So if I paint that down, there you have it. Okay, so that's it for the explanation of the Photoshop screen, and the next lesson will be on the selection tools.